Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and I'm continuing to go through the entire Tremors film series. So today it's the 2015 movie Tremors 5 Bloodlines. Here is your trivia question for today. What is the name of Bert's docu-series? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So in this film, we catch back up with our favorite graboid hunter, Bert Gummer. So Bert has been doing a documentary web series all about graboids and living out on the land. He's also just now meeting his new cameraman, Travis Welker, who seems to have a particular interest in Bert. So Bert and Travis are then introduced to Eric Van Wyck, who happens to be an agent of the South African Wildlife Ministry and is here to talk to Bert Gummer about helping them out with their issue as he is the foremost expert on graboids. So Bert and Travis agree to go and help out Van Wyck, and off they travel to South Africa. Now, once there, they do start making some friends, but unfortunately, they also start making some enemies. These enemies include a new evolution of the Ass Blaster, a different variation of graboids, and the fact that certain graboids now have the ability of allowing their tongues to be released from their bodies and become sentient creatures. Now, while in Africa, we do find out that the reason why there are some different evolutions of graboids is because in Africa there are in fact fossilized versions of a whole different breed of them. We also find out that there's a tribe of people that either are worshipping these creatures or are just aware of their existence. To make matters worse, there also seems to be a much larger queen graboid. So will Bert, Travis, and the rest of the locals be able to put together enough firepower to take out the queen and her brood? This movie was directed by Don Michael Paul. This is also the first time in the Tremors series that a movie was not directed by either S.S. Wilson, Brent Maddock, or Ron Underwood. Paul, by the way, had apparently never seen a Tremors film before starting this. Michael Gross then forced him to watch the first one during production. Speaking of the first one, it had actually been 25 years since the first film had come out, and 11 years since the fourth one, which came right before this. I always love the fact that Michael Gross has been willing to come back and play the character of Bert Gummer each film. But I do feel bad because starting with this film and the next two following ones, I feel like they started to go in an earnest direction. As with Ernest films, near the end, it just kept going into where else can we put Ernest? And with the last three Tremors films, it just felt like, hey, let's put Bert Gummer in Africa. Let's put Bert Gummer in the Arctic. And let's put Bert Gummer on an island. One of the new characters added in this film was Travis Welker, played by Jamie Kennedy. And I'll be honest, right after the Scream series, I think this is my second favorite character that he's ever played, but that's also because I haven't really liked much of anything else that he's done film-wise, but the character of Travis is actually not that bad. There was apparently one other actor that was up for the role of Travis, and that was David A. Gregory. Another thing they started to do with these last three Tremors films was bring in a random extra character that was always one of the biggest badasses in the film. This time around, it was the character of Den Bravers, the pilot, played by Ian Roberts. Kevin Bacon apparently expressed interest on coming back to the Tremors series in this film, but ultimately passed. Did you happen to catch the reference to the original Tremors film that appeared in one of the animated sequences for Bert's docu-series? There's a little girl on a pogo stick showcasing how her vibrations cause the graboids to hear her, and this is a reference back to Mindy from the first film, who was doing just that. The kitchen sequence in this film with the Ass Blaster is supposed to be an homage to the kitchen sequence with the raptors in the first Jurassic Park movie. The celebratory chant you can hear at the end of this film was the same one used for Congo. When it came to the new graboids, I was a little put off by how they looked, but I'll be honest, they're not terrible. They still kind of have the basic concept. Now, on the other hand, I absolutely hated the new look for the Ass Blasters, as they completely dropped the beak style version that they had, and now it's just more of like an open toothy maw. One thing I'm still teetering back and forth as to whether or not I liked or hated was the sentient tongues. This movie not only takes place in South Africa, but was also filmed there. In fact, they filmed at an actual wildlife reserve. As of this film, graboids have now made it to three separate continents: North America, South America, and Africa with this film. Australia was almost used twice for two different Tremors films. Before Kevin Bacon and Reba McEntire backed out from doing the second film, that movie was going to take place in Australia. The other film that was almost in Australia was this movie. In fact, the original concept for the fifth film was one that was loosely based off of a script by S.S. Wilson and Brent Maddock, who ended up backing out due to a lack of creative control. Now, had this been in Australia, the two titles they were thinking of for this film were Tremors 5, Thunder from Down Under, or Tremors 5, Gummer Down Under. Also, if this film had been in Australia, there was plans of adding a partner for Bert that pretty much would have been a caricature of Crocodile Dundee. So when it comes to the film Tremors 5 Bloodlines, this movie is entertaining. I wouldn't say it's as good as the first three, but definitely better than the fourth one. Now, I am still a little annoyed that they leaned a lot more into the CGI and backed away from the practical effects of the first three, but this is much better CGI wise than the third film. So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. And if you did like this one, other movies I recommend checking out are Beast, The Ghost in the Darkness, Jurassic Park, and Rogue. Now for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. What is the name of Bert's docu-series? So the name of his web series is The Survivalist with Bert Gummer. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments.